Deuteronomy Chapter 16 provides guidance on the observance of three major annual festivals in Israel: Passover, the Feast of Weeks, and the Feast of Tabernacles. Moses instructs the Israelites on how to celebrate these festivals with sincerity and gratitude, highlighting their significance in commemorating God's deliverance and provision. The chapter begins with the command to observe the Passover, a commemoration of the Israelites' liberation from Egypt. Moses emphasizes the importance of sacrificing the Passover lamb and eating unleavened bread during this festival. He underscores the historical context of the festival and the need to remember their deliverance from bondage. Moses then outlines the Feast of Weeks, which celebrates the harvest and the giving of the law at Mount Sinai. He instructs the Israelites to present offerings to God based on their blessings and to rejoice before Him. This festival serves as a reminder of God's guidance and His role as the giver of the law. The chapter also addresses the Feast of Tabernacles, during which the Israelites are to live in booths for 7 days to remember their time in the wilderness. Moses stresses the importance of rejoicing during this festival and emphasizes that it should be a time of genuine gratitude for God's provision and protection. Moses concludes the chapter by discussing the appointment of judges and officials in the Israelite community, emphasizing the principles of justice, impartiality, and integrity. He warns against bribery and corruption, reinforcing the importance of maintaining a just and equitable society. In summary, Deuteronomy Chapter 16 provides instructions for the observance of key festivals that serve as markers of the Israelites' history and relationship with God. These festivals are not merely religious rituals but opportunities for reflection, gratitude, and celebration. The chapter also underscores the significance of justice and integrity within the community, reflecting the principles of God's covenant and the call to live in accordance with His commandments. Let's now read Deuteronomy chapter 16. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God, for in the month of Abib the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Thou shalt therefore sacrifice the Passover unto the Lord thy God, of the flock and the herd, in the place which the Lord shall choose to place His name there. Thou shalt eat no leavened bread with it. 7 days shalt thou eat unleavened bread therewith, even the bread of affliction, for thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt in haste, that thou mayest remember the day when thou camest forth out of the land of Egypt all the days of thy life. And there shall be no leavened bread seen with thee in all thy coasts 7 days, neither shall there anything of the flesh, which thou sacrificedst the first day at even, remain all night until the morning. Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee. But at the place which the Lord thy God shall choose to place His name in, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun, at the season that thou camest forth out of Egypt. And thou shalt roast and eat it in the place which the Lord thy God shall choose, and thou shalt turn in the morning, and go unto thy tents. 6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day shall be a solemn assembly to the Lord thy God, thou shalt do no work therein. 7 weeks shalt thou number unto thee. Begin to number the 7 weeks from such time as thou beginnest to put the sickle to the corn. And thou shalt keep the Feast of Weeks unto the Lord thy God with a tribute of a freewill offering of thine hand, which thou shalt give unto the Lord thy God, according as the Lord thy God hath blessed thee. And thou shalt rejoice before the Lord thy God, thou, and thy son, and thy daughter, and thy manservant, and thy maidservant, and the Levite that is within thy gates, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow, that are among you, in the place which the Lord thy God hath chosen to place His name there. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in Egypt, and thou shalt observe and do these statutes. Thou shalt observe the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days, after that thou hast gathered in thy corn and thy wine. And thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou, and thy son, and thy daughter, and thy manservant, and thy maidservant, and the Levite, the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow, that are within thy gates. 7 days shalt thou keep a solemn feast unto the Lord thy God in the place which the Lord shall choose, because the Lord thy God shall bless thee in all thine increase, and in all the works of thine hands, therefore thou shalt surely rejoice. 3 times in a year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty. Every man shall give as he is able, according to the blessing of the Lord thy God which he hath given thee. Judges and officers shalt thou make thee in all thy gates, which the Lord thy God giveth thee, throughout thy tribes, and they shall judge the people with just judgment. Thou shalt not wrest judgment, thou shalt not respect persons, neither take a gift, for a gift doth blind the eyes of the wise, and pervert the words of the righteous. That which is altogether just shalt thou follow, that thou mayest live, and inherit the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not plant thee a grove of any trees near unto the altar of the Lord thy God, which thou shalt make thee. Neither shalt thou set thee up any image, which the Lord thy God hateth. This ends our reading of Deuteronomy chapter 16.